Hi, I'm Paris of Paris Ashley Home. I had a door on this wall that I didn't need anymore, so I closed it off. And instead of just making it a wall, I decided to add a cute little plate rack wall treatment. So I'm going to teach you how to make one of these yourself. Okay, for this wall treatment, I did get a 36-inch piece of white oak. I would have liked to have gone 1 to 2 inches bigger because the joint compound from when I filled in this door goes past 36 inches, so I will have to add some wall texture right here. But this piece alone was only $4, whereas if I got a piece that was a lot longer, it would have cost linear footage, which would have made this probably $50 more expensive for that extra inch or two. And that to me just wasn't worth it. So this is $4, and I will deal with having to add a little bit of wall texture on either side. That's not what you will have to worry about in yours, most likely. But to make this, this is what I am basing all of my measurements on, is this 36-inch piece of white oak right here. Now to calculate what I need to cut my shiplap planks to be, I have the 36-inch piece of white oak and I have my 2 trim pieces. This is upside down, so this will actually be attached to the wall, and this is going to be the front piece. This is actually going to be cut into little slivers. You'll see that later, but this is getting our width for the shiplap. So we will measure this. That looks like 34 and a half. So we're going to take 34 and a half, and then we also have this nickel, which is 1/16 of an inch, because we are doing a nickel gap is what it is called. Okay, so we have 34.5, 1/16 times 5. So we're taking 0.325, which is 1/16 times 5, because I'm wanting 6 boards, and subtracting that from 34.5. That equals 31.1875. Divide that by 6, and that equals 5.7 inches. So roughly 5 1/4 inches, just under 5 1/4 inches for each piece. All right, we're ready to cut our pieces. As always, I have my face mask, my headphones, and my shower cap. You're welcome. All right, next up, we are going to attach the top trim piece with just some brad nails. And then once that's attached, we can measure the 2 side pieces and then just get the shiplap in, and then we'll get to painting and the shelves. All right, I did bring up my laser level. I do want to make sure that I have it well balanced between the sides. So now that I have my laser level, I can go ahead and get this piece attached. So using my brad nailer, I am rotating the angle of the nails. All right, I'm gonna go measure my 2 cap pieces, and we're gonna get those cut, and I'll be right back. All right, I have a laser level, and we're gonna go ahead and get these attached top to bottom and make sure that they are level, obviously. So I'm using my large scale level as well as my laser level to make sure that these are straight and level sideways and vertically. I am then using my brad nailer, and I am doing an angled nail on the inside pointing to the left and an angled nail on the outside pointing to the right, to the inside on both sides. So that is going to have cross nail action, and this will ensure that piece does not come out of the wall. I will also use a nail punch to push those nails in further. Since I am doing an angled brad nail install, I'm not able to get that nail flush into the board. So yes, I will have to use my nail punch to shoot these in a little bit more. I'm now using my 36-inch piece of white oak to ensure the width of these are exactly 36 inches on the top, middle, and bottom. And that will just ensure that when I add the shiplap panels on the inside, that there is no wonky business going on. And here you can see that nail punch. I just use my hammer and the nail punch to push those nails in a little bit further. You see that they stick out of the wood, and this just gives it nice, clean, smooth lines. All right, next we're just gonna simply add a little bit of spackle to our holes. Oops. We will caulk this edge, don't you worry. Great. And we're just gonna lightly sand anywhere that we added a little bit of spackle. Great. All right, now we're going to caulk the edges before we add our inner pieces to give these more stability before we add our inner panels. Great. right, we have all of our shiplap pieces cut and sanded. I did sand them all with a 220 and I sanded the edges. I like to use plywood for my shiplap, not actual shiplap paneling. It saves a lot of money and it looks just as good. And this is how I've done it in my entire house. I am going to do brad nails on the top and bottom and then pin nails throughout so that they are less noticeable. And then when you're doing this, you probably won't have this issue. Whoopsie. But I have spacers. When I filled in this door, it isn't completely straight level. So I have little spacers here for when I put the shiplap up. You can see right there, it is even with the wall instead of bowing in. If it were to bow in when I add my shelves, there would be a gap in the back. Okay, let's get to it. Oh, and do you want to know how to add, oh gosh, a nickel gap between shiplap boards? With a nickel. Okay. All right, so now to get the official nickel gap, I am gonna raise my shiplap up to the top because I want that to have the clean line. On the bottom, you're never gonna see it. I take my nickel, I put it right in at the top, and I move my board over so it's tight and flush. Lift, hold. And get 2 in. Then I'm gonna take this down to the very bottom and do that same thing, and I shift it just a little. And there we go. Now we have that nickel gap all the way up. So I'm going to continue adding my spacers and using my pin nails. So we are caulking all of the seams. So I did get the outer ones, or the inner ones done. Now we're doing this bottom one, just to make it nice and clean. And as the caulk dries, we will go cut the shelves. And I don't necessarily want this little bead right here. I want it to be flat. So I'm just going to use my 5-in-1 tool and then wipe. Just little tedious things. All right, the last thing we're going to do before we head outside is spackle all of our nail holes. And then I just use a baby wipe to wipe away the spackle. That's the beauty of this Red Devil spackle. It goes on just like a little cloud. And you can just wipe it with a baby wipe. You have no need to sand this. All right, so next up we are going to be cutting our shelves. So this is the width. This is 36 inches. So I'm going to cut 5 36-inch shelves that will go in here and attach right here. I do have all of my mini pieces cut as well. So once I have those cut, I'll come back in and show you how I cut this edge and how we get them all attached. All right, here's where we left off. We have all of the paneling up. All of the caulk and spackle is dry, so we are ready to prime this wall. While the primer is drying, that is when we will go take these boards to the jigsaw so that our shelves can fit. I'm just going with the good old Bin Zinsser primer. And we're gonna get this on the wall. The primer prevents the tannins from the wood coming through. We are using a light color paint for the final paint, and I have no desire to have any yellow tannins coming through over time. All right, we are ready. So to start, I'm going to tape the edges. Why? So that when I use the jigsaw, it has the minimal amount of tear out. And I'm out of painter's tape, so I'm using some masking tape I have on hand, which works just as well. So I will essentially hold this up. Now it is a perfect fit, so I do know that this is 3/4 of an inch, so I could just measure by that, but I do like to be perfect. I do have my level right here. Now I'm going to take my pencil, make sure it is smooth on both sides, right there. Take our pencil, make a line right here. We will use our speed square to draw a line straight. Then we are going to take it on the inside. Hold it as up as we can, and then make a line right here. And this is where we will cut the front, so we'll have a little sliver to attach right there. Great. Repeat on the other side over here. All right, we're now going to use our speed square to draw a line all the way. There we go. Now I'm actually going to clamp my speed square to give my jigsaw a guide, because I don't want it flopping. There's the track that I'm going to keep my jigsaw on, right there. Now we'll clamp that down. Confirm. Now we're going to cut right to here, and then we'll cut this way. I am using a fine finish wood blade, because this is hardwood, this is oak, and I do have it on my hardest setting. Nice. So there's a little gap back here. That's just because of the uneven wall. We'll add some clear silicone caulk to that, and it'll hide it real well. Same with on the corners, on the edges right here. But we can take this tape off, and then now we're going to calculate the measurements for 5 even boards all the way up. All right, so after using the jigsaw, I don't have the best quality jigsaw, so it kind of cuts on an angle no matter how straight my jigsaw is. And I can just never get a perfect cut. So I did switch over to my table saw. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So I am just marking my lines just like I did previously. Now because the blade is round, we cannot go all the way. We just have to go a little bit, less than all the way. And then I'm actually going to tip it up to try and get that straight cut. And then same on this side, I'll tip it up until I just meet that mark. On the bottom, there will be, a little going past the line, but you're not going to see the bottom of these shelves. And I just repeated on both sides. And I did do this with the rest of the 4 boards. It was a lot more accurate than the jigsaw. Again, my jigsaw is just, it's time to upgrade, but it costs money to do that. Anyways, let's finish cutting the rest of these. All right, before we go back inside, we are going to wood condition all of my boards. And then while they are wood conditioning, we're going to go paint the shiplap paneling inside. You want to wood condition to make sure that the stain absorbs evenly. And I will say I did take all of my boards inside to make sure that they fit before I stain them. So make sure you do that with your boards as well. All right, before we start painting our actual color, I just taped off the entire rectangle. And we are gonna take the original paint color, this wall paint color, on top of the tape and paint it. This is gonna create a seal between the tape and the wall. So when I paint the new color on top, it's gonna give me that perfect crisp line. Now I know you've probably seen this on the internet, but in case you haven't, I did not want you to miss out on this tip because this is a great one. We will have to let the paint dry before we start painting, but I have a little fan in here to speed up the process, and we are in the middle of staining as well. Weathered oak and special walnut. It's probably 2/5 weathered oak, 3/5 special walnut. I just kind of tested until I liked it, and that's what I'm going with. Okay, it is time to paint. We are using our microfiber roller. This is going to give the most smooth finish. I'm also using an edging brush for the edges, as well as a teeny tiny brush for the lines. So let's get started. I already just finished my second coat of paint, and now we're gonna pull the tape off. It's good to pull the tape off while it is still wet. You always wanna pull away from the wall. And look at that crisp line. Wow, that's perfect. And you can see just how crisp that line is. Absolutely perfect. All right, it is time to install our first piece. Look how pretty. Oh God, I love it so much. Okay, so we're gonna start off by adding a little bit of wood glue along the edge, sides. I then have silicone caulk, my pin nailer, my brad nailer, and we're gonna get it installed. Start off with our pin nailer in the front. Okay, she's in. Now we're gonna get our brad nailer and put it in from this side. Okay. Then we will grab our spackle. Go ahead and fill in those holes immediately. Then we will grab our silicone caulk. Okay, next I cut a piece at 16.45, so this is where our next piece will go. I'm not adding a lot of wood glue, so I don't want it to pour down these sides. All right, so we're just gonna add our silicone caulk again to this shelf, After that, we're going to add our spackle on the sides, and then I'm going to finish the other 3 shelves, and then I will be back to show you how we add our rails. All right, I have my 2 pieces. I have a spacing block and I have my pin nailer. My spacing block is just a 2x4. I'm going to add a little bit of wood glue on both ends. Then I use my pin nailer and secure it. Oops. And just wipe away any excess glue. And that's it. It's done. Just go ahead and add your decorations, your decor, your plates, your cookbooks, whatever you want on your beautiful plate rack wall treatment. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I try to answer as best I can. Subscribe for more tutorials. Follow Paris Ashley Home on all your social platforms. And thanks for watching. Bye.